the nursing home point, something like 2/3 of all nursing home costs are paid for by Medicaid. 50% of all childbirths in America are paid for by Medicaid.
Did you say 2/3 of nursing homes?
2/3 of nursing home bills are paid for by Medicaid. But anyway, let's break down some of these numbers a little bit more and show you kind of just how ugly this actually is. So in fact, the headline number that the Senate bill would cover 22 million it costs 22 million people coverage is technically correct. However, when you look at Medicaid and when you look at the people under the subsidies, it actually is slightly worse than the House bill. The House bill would have cut 20 million people off the rolls. The Senate bill would cut the full 22 million. The difference is the House bill would have cost 3 million people employer insurance for fairly obscure reasons I won't get into right now, but aren't actually that important. But then on the savings and the tax cut side, you can see that there is $760 billion of tax cuts. These are going almost entirely to the rich by eliminating things like excess taxes on investment income and such like. And then the spending cuts in the Senate bill are actually larger than they were in the House bill. They're over $1 trillion, so almost $1.1 trillion. Now, if you're looking for a way that Mitch McConnell has some maneuvering room here, actually, one point is this deficit. So they're going to reduce the deficit by $321 billion.
You know what I don't understand, though? If you're, let's say you're in Alabama and you're a conservative and you can go back and brag, hey, you know what, we cut the deficit 321 billion. Well, states like Alabama, states like West Virginia, they're disproportionately impacted by those cuts. I know about Alabama. Disproportionately, this will hurt states like Alabama and Mississippi and West Virginia the most. So politically, doesn't it cut both ways, where you have some of Trump's strongest supporting states will be the ones most devastated by these cuts?
There's no question that this affects typically poorer Americans at the lower end of the income scale who are disproportionately located in Trump states. There's no question. But the point I just wanted to make about the deficit is McConnell has a little bit of maneuvering room. He could take a couple $100 million of that deficit reduction and try to do something for the moderates, try to do something for Susan Collins, to, in effect, buy them off. But let's take a look at the overall impact on uninsured in this country. So you can see on this chart that Obamacare brought the uninsured rate all the way down from over 18% to under 10%. And what both the Senate and the House bill would do would be to bring it right back up again to the 18% range, right back up to roughly where it was before Obamacare, and amongst the highest it's been since back before we had Medicaid and Medicare fully in effect. So it would be an unprecedented reversal of a social
and
program.
your dotted line there, if it's CBO says it stays in effect, it stays at 10%.
It stays at 10% if Obamacare stays in effect.
Okay.
And then lastly, you mentioned premiums for older people. Let's take a look at what happens here. So if you're a younger person, if you have a $26,500 income and you're 64 years old, under Obamacare you would have paid $1,700 for your coverage. Under the House bill you would have paid $16,000 for your coverage. The Senate bill does bring that down to $6,500. That's still 4 times what it would have been under the House bill. But here's what happens to somebody who's got a middle income. Now, $56,800 is a middle income person. They would be paying $6,800 under Obamacare. They'd be paying $16,000 under the House bill. They'd be paying $20,500 under the. They'd be paying 40% of their income would go to health care under the GOP bill.
Okay, we're going to cover this all morning and get every angle possible. That really crystallizes it, Steve. Thank you.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.